Hello, darlings. It's Melissa, your Learning Technologies trainer. Thank you so much for stopping by for this playback on our Workshop Wednesday, How to Gamify Your Test Prep, Part 1. If you're joining us here from YouTube, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so that you are notified of our upcoming content. As a reminder, this is Part 1 of How to Gamify Your Test Prep. Check in the description box or join us next Wednesday for Part 2. Have fun digging in on how to gamify your test prep, and if you have any questions or would like additional coaching, feel free to reach out to any member of our Learning Technologies team. Until we learn together again, always keep growing. Welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Today we are talking about how to gamify your test prep. Thank you so much for coming and learning with us. This session is going to be presented by members of our Learning Technologies team here in CPS. My name is Melissa Kincaid, and I am one of the Learning Technologies trainer. I'm going to let my other two team members introduce themselves.
My name is Debbie Crawford. I am the Interim Digital Learning Manager. I oversee the technology and computer science standards for our district, and I help lead some of the projects and initiatives for our Learning Technologies team.
And my name is Adam Bessler, and I'm the instructional technology coach on our team. And my primary role is to work with teachers to embed learning technology tools into their lessons, into their classroom. So we're excited to be here with you guys today.
Now, for today, we are going to be talking about some of our favorite things. And today is what I like to call a sandbox course. And I call it a sandbox course or a sandbox webinar because the point of it is for you to get in there and get your hands dirty. So we're not going to be talking in depth about how to really create these things. Instead, we want to introduce you to the game that's out there, let you play around as a student, see a little bit how it looks as a teacher. That way you can decide if it's something you want to incorporate into your classroom or into your practice. Now, if there's one that you're just excited about and you're like, I want to use that like next week as I'm doing my test prep, then please reach out to one of us. We would love to come and sit with you and help you to create some of the games. We'll also show you how there's already created games out there as well. But we are here at your disposal. Let us know if you need any additional support and coaching. Now, this is our plan for today. We're going to be talking about 3 different sites. I'm going to be talking about Peardeck Flashcard Factory because it's one of my favorites. These are all my favorites, but I can talk all day. I'm just going to be talking about Flashcard Factory. And then Adam's going to come on and talk about Climb Time, which is a game within Nearpod. Very Peardeck-ish if you're not a Nearpod user. Or Peardeck is very Nearpod-ish if you're not a Peardeck user. And then last but not least, Debbie is going to be talking about Jeopardy Labs, which is all internet-based. All right, so we're going to start with Flashcard Factory. And like I said before, Flashcard Factory is a game that is part of the Peardeck offerings. And you get to Flashcard Factory the same way you would get to a Peardeck. Now, we're going to play around so that you see a little bit about how Flashcard Factory works. And then I want to get your feedback on what you think. Here I have a list of words. I typed these in to save us some time. How I got here was just peardeck.com. Same as if I'm going to any Peardeck. In the middle of the page in yellow is a button that says Flashcard Factory. That takes you here where you can create your vocab list. Okay? So as you're creating your vocab list, you just press in your word. You can also press in the definition, or you can look up a definition. It has got a Merriam-Webster dictionary embedded. So you could just choose a definition. I do like to say this to everyone. This is a 4th grade concept that we're seeing right now. And Merriam-Webster's dictionary is not a kid dictionary. It's not kid-friendly language necessarily. So you may want to type in some of your own definitions, like part of one. Or you can just leave the definition blank. That is up to you. I would like for us to play a version of Flashcard Factory so you can see what it looks like. And we do have minus myself an even number of people, so it's going to be perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and press play Flashcard Factory. I know I'm missing definitions. You can start it anyway. Since Flashcard Factory is a Peardeck product, it's going to give you a join code just like Peardeck. So once all the students are in, you're going to press clock in. Now we have our two teams. So with Flashcard Factory, how you win the game is your shift earns the most points. And you earn a point by creating a quality product because this is a factory. So you and your partner are going to create a flashcard. It's going to ask one of you to draw an example of the word. It's going to ask the other partner to give an example of the word. Then once you and your partner, which is a little bit more difficult because we're remote, but once you and your partner agree, this is our best work, then you send it off into production. And then you're given the next word. Now, depending on how many words you have in your set, in the classroom, you can choose to have every student pair complete every word. I would only suggest that you do that if you have like 5-10 words, not more than that. Or you can give them a time limit, which was generally what I did for my students. So our production phase here that we're about to go into, I would give them maybe 15-20 minutes before I force added them to quality control. And I'll tell you what that is in a minute. Okay, so let's go ahead and start playing. You can shuffle your teams if you'd like. I think our teams are okay. Usually if you just see those two kids where you're like, oh, I don't know if they should be partners, you can shuffle them. Unfortunately, you can't say I want these kids on a team or these kids matched up. It is random, but you can shuffle them a couple times. All right, so let's go ahead and play. So now you're going to be on your Peardeck tab, and I'm going to give you 7-8-ish minutes to create some flashcards. You want to see what the teacher's seeing, feel free to switch back to your Google Meet tab so that you can see what happens to your cards once you submit them. You can see they fall down the little chute there. And now they're on the conveyor belt because they're ready to be checked in quality control.
Melissa, is there a timer like on your work?
So there is not a timer, or you can't set the little timer like you can on the like Peardeck decks. I usually just set a timer, like 5-minute timer, like just from online.
Okay. Yeah, I just wondered because like a couple of them when I wasn't done, like it switched me to the next one.
Oh, you mean, no, what I think might have possibly happened is your partner said, it looks good, I'm done. Because like almost as soon as it has the two parts that are filled out, it'll ask, is this good? I'm done. And then it only takes one partner to say that's good.
Okay.
That may be something to tell the kids too. And possibly, like I always have my kids sit together once it announces their partners and they kind of shuffle it so they can sit together. So I'm going to go ahead and stop us and send us to the quality control phase. So for this phase, it should stop you on your Flashcard Factory game. And I would like for you to come back to the Google Meet if you're not already there so you can see what the teacher sees. Okay, so at this point, what you do as a teacher is you go through and you either accept or reject their flashcards. Okay, it's a Flashcard Factory. They're making flashcards and they get accepted if it's quality, and then they get rejected if it is not fitting of the definition. So here we have a line. I love that picture of a line. I think the top of the door can be a line. Technically, it's a line segment, but I'm gonna give it to this student because I like it. Okay. A line, a point is like a long cord. We've got arrows at the front. I like it. Keep it. This is not a line segment because a line segment would have a start and a stop. So I would reject this one. Now notice the ones that I should have said that before I accepted. When I accept them, it's going to add a point to whichever team this card is from. So I'm going to accept this one, and the night shift got another point. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. That's a Ray. That looks good. Great. That looks like a good Ray. Keep going. That looks like a good Ray. I probably should be reading definitions, but I'm not. I'm sorry. That is an angle. Perfect. Like clock hands. I love it. That is point. Boom. And then we have one more parallel lines. Also, that looks great. Parallel lines. So then now it sends them all the ones that you have accepted or loaded into the truck because they are a good product. And it'll show you up here how many points each of the students had. So the day shift actually won this game because they had the most points, and that's why the banner is yellow. If the night shift was to have won, then the banner in the truck would be blue. Now, other than being an interesting and fun game where the students are actually the ones creating the vocabulary cards, this is the best part to me. If you have a GimKit Live account, you can export these to GimKit. GimKit is very similar to Blookit or Quizlet. A district does not pay for GimKit, but if there is a free version, if you have an account, you can go ahead and export it to that, and you can play all kinds of games with GimKit. You can also print your set. So if I press print set here, it is going to give me the actual flashcards that my students made. So I can cut these and fold them to where they have the definition on one side and the word on the other. I can cut them all the way apart, and now they have a matching game. I can make them into flashcards to use as stations. I can put them on the wall so that I have now a student creative vocabulary wall with these flashcards that they've made. That's their drawings, that theirs in their language. You can do so much more, anything that you would do with your normal vocabulary wall.
This is a tool just to create the flashcards on here. They can't actually like use them really to study like you could on Quizlet. Like you said, you would have to like export them to Quizlet or something.
So they used to have a relationship with Quizlet where you could export them to Quizlet. And then if you use Quizlet, like the opportunities are like endless from Quizlet. I love that. For whatever reason, Peardeck does not have that relationship with Quizlet anymore. Technically, you could copy and paste their definitions to Quizlet if you want to use that and take screenshots of their pictures, but it doesn't automatically do it like it used to, which is kind of a bummer because I love Quizlet, but it does do that with GimKit if you have a GimKit account. You can also print these out and then have that as the dictionary for the students in their notebook, things like that as well. Love it that it's the students that are creating the vocabulary sets in their own language and in their own drawings. It doesn't have to just be for vocabulary. You could have them doing a set where it was 3 times 9 and 4 times 3, and they had to give a product and then also draw an array or also write skip counting. So you can actually branch it out to other options rather than just vocabulary. Just the system itself is set up for vocabulary review. So you just have to give those additional instructions to the students if you wanted to tweak it a little bit. Mr. Bessler, take us to climb time.
I want to share a little bit about a gamified option in a learning technology tool called Nearpod. And so Nearpod is an approved tool, but we do not pay at the time for the premium version. And so the things that we're going to access today are available in the free version. And you can create an account and use those materials as you see fit. So if you don't have a Nearpod account already, you would want to go to nearpod.com and then sign up for free. And when you click this button, you would choose that you are a teacher. And then make sure you sign up with your Google account. And so the reason you want to make sure you sign up with your Google account is if anything ever changes and your site got a district license or a site got a license in Nearpod, or the district gets licenses in Nearpod, you would want it to be able to connect to your Google account. So don't fill it out over here. Instead, sign up with Google. And as a rule of thumb, it's always best to sign up with Google when you can. So, and then once you do that, you'll end up on Nearpod's landing page. And I have the screen that you're looking at now is access to a premium account. And so when you sign up with a free account, you may not have some of the options over here on the left side, but you will have the Nearpod library, which is where we're going to start to look for a time to climb game. And so Nearpod is very similar to Peardeck in its interactive presentation tool types. And so if you've used Peardeck before with questioning slides and multiple choice and drawing and drag and drop, Nearpod also offers those, but they have additional parts and pieces that teachers can use as part of their lessons. And time to climb is one of those additional parts and pieces that Nearpod offers. And so we're going to look at time to climb from 2 different ways today. We're going to look at it from what is already available in the Nearpod library of lessons for the games that are already created. And then I'm also going to briefly show you how to make your own, and then we'll dive in and play a game for a second or two. And so if I was looking for a time to climb game, I can just search in the search bar for time to climb. And then I'm going to get all of the lessons that Nearpod's content team has created that have different categories behind them. And so, for example, it looks like there's some stuff in here for character setting, conflict, and it shows me the grade level that it's available to. But then also over on the left side, I can come through here and select my content area and grade level to kind of filter down a little further. And then if I found one of these that I wanted to use, so let's say I wanted to use this conflict lesson here, when you click the preview button, you'll actually be able to work through it as a student, which of course we highly recommend. And then you would be able to click on it and add it to your lessons, which will then let you assign it to your students. And so you could preview this game here, go through, look at the slides, look at the questions, look at everything that is already included as part of this pre-made time to climb game. And so that is one way to access time to climb. And so what we did is we went to the Nearpod library, we searched for time to climb, and then we just looked through to see what applied to our grade level and content area. And if you want to get more specific with what you search, you can also do that as well. That's one way to find pre-made time to climb games that may match your content area that you're teaching. It did this to me before. It signed me out for some. That's because I signed out before probably. But so let's get signed back in. And then when you're back at your home page, this is where you can access any lessons that you've pulled over from the district or from the library, from the Nearpod library. And so you'll see all of your lessons and anything or games that you've made are going to show up here. But if you want to create just a time to climb game, we'll click on this create button. And from here, you can do a time to climb two ways. You could make it part of your lesson. And so that would imagine taking some of the Peardeck drawing slides and drag and drop slides, but also adding a game to that lesson or to those slides. That's an option to do here. Or if you just wanted to create the game by itself with no other content, you can choose activity and then pick time to climb. And so this is what we're going to get into today. And when you do that, you'll notice that it looks very much like a traditional question editor and similar to what we were looking at before. In Peardeck, it kind of looks similar even to stuff that's in Quizlet and Kahoot and those other tools, quizzes, where you type the question, you give some answer choices, and you select one that's correct. But you also have the opportunity to choose images as an answer type. And then you can also add a reference image. And so, for example, if you were creating a question about maps and you want students to refer to the map, you could add that image directly in when you're creating your question types. And so I would just go through this editor and add my questions. And when I'm finished, I hit the save button. So I'm actually going to take you into one that has some information already in it. And so I created one on branches of government, and I put a question type in there. And as you can see, I've come and I put my question in. I put what the choices are. I marked one correct. And then if I wanted to continue the questions about the branches of government, I can add a question and just continue working my way through the question editor. And so let's take a complete game so you can see what it looks like as a student. And so I grabbed this from the Nearpod library, and I do have the choice to do a live participation lesson and a student-paced lesson, which is similar to what is offered to you in Peardeck. And so live participation is just that. It's participation that happens with the class, and student-paced is just that the students do it on their own time. Sometimes the benefit of time to climb is the competition that goes behind the game. And so most teachers that I've seen use this typically use the live participation because they're doing it in class. And so when I click live participation, it's going to ask me to launch a new lesson. And just like you join a Peardeck, you can either have students go to join.nearpod.com, or you can copy the link that you could share to your kids in Schoology. And so for today, I'm just going to copy this link and put it into our chat for you to play. And if you've never been into Nearpod before, so go ahead and navigate over to the Google Meet. And at 5 o'clock, I dropped a link in for our game today. And if you've never joined Nearpod before, it will probably prompt you to sign in with Google. And I would recommend that you do that. And then I do also think you end up with a like an option to sign in, like, or to not sign in, to put like a nickname. But I would always recommend that your kids sign in with their accounts. And then once you've signed in, if you come back to the Google Meet, I can kind of show you what the teacher dashboard side of things looks like. So in the bottom left corner, I'm going to be able to see how many people have joined and what students have joined. And then I also have some choices here of how I want the game to run. And so one of the cool things about Time to Climb is you have the ability to change the theme of the game. And so if I wanted the theme to be jungle related or sports related or space related, beach related, carnival related, I can choose these different themes, or even better, you could let your kids choose a theme of which way they want to play that day. And so let's say we want to play carnival, and then I can adjust any settings over here that I might want to. If I want the sound to play, if I want questions and answers to be randomized, if I wanted to pause the game between questions for discussion. And so if you were going to use this to lead some discussion and maybe do some demo or clear up any misconceptions, that's also an option there. And when you're ready, we'll hit continue. Okay, let's get started. And so on your end, you're being prompted with some questions. So if I was finished with the lesson, I can come over and I can, I'm going to go ahead and end the session. And once you end the session, you have an option to email yourself the report, which would give you details about how your students did. Full disclosure, the reports feature of Nearpod it's pretty lacking. So the information that you're getting while the game is going live might be better than what shows up on the report, but Nearpod has told us that they are working on making the reports a little bit more solid for teacher use. So again, to review, there are two ways for you to create or use Time to Climb games. The first way is by searching in the Nearpod library. And then the other way is to create your own lesson by going to the Create button, choosing activity or embedding it in a lesson, and then filling out your questions.
Okay. Just one quick question. Is there a timer? Was there like a timer you set up, or was it automatic?
So the timer is automatic as part of the game. And then when you go into your settings and start the game, you can make some adjustments to some of the timers and those kinds of things. And if you choose student paced, I would have to test it, but I'm pretty sure the timer isn't there when you choose student paced, because you might have kids doing it at home for homework at 8 o'clock at night, but also have kids doing it, like they wouldn't be playing against each other live if they were doing it in student paced.
So we are going to go over Jeopardy Labs next. So as a former high school teacher, I really enjoyed this game, but almost all of our students have heard or seen Jeopardy before. As you may know, it is a very popular television show. And so I'm going to drop a link in our chat that will take you to jeopardylabs.com. It is one of my students' most favorite days. Anytime they knew it was coming up, they were always super excited. So this is a little bit of a preview of what it looks like before we start digging in. Just like with Jeopardy, you have different categories and different point values, and points get awarded or deducted depending on whether a correct answer is given or not. There are a variety of games that you can choose from that are pre-existing. My only thing would be to make sure you check all of the answers first to ensure that they are right before you roll them out into your classroom. Jeopardy Labs is free. However, you can pay for a lifetime subscription, and it is only $20. Okay, $20 for a lifetime subscription to this website. And I highly recommend you invest the money. It is something that I chose to do, and it was well worth it. By paying the $20, you get the ability to upload pictures, you can insert math equations, you can include videos and audio clips in the questions. You can add additional questions, so you can have more categories than just 5 and additional point values beyond 500. It allows you to manage all your templates a little easier. You can make them private. You can also get specific URLs to your game individually that you can share out with other people as you want. So I do highly recommend doing the lifetime membership. $20 isn't bad when it comes to things that are going to make our lives a little easier. Now, before we start digging into the website itself, I do want to talk a little bit about logistics. So before you launch this into your classroom, I highly recommend thinking about how it's going to work, right? So in my classroom, the way we did it is we divided the room into teams. I usually had anywhere from 4 to 6 students on a team. I had a really big class, anywhere from 28 to 36 kids in a class. So I had some larger teams depending on who was there that particular day. The reason it's easier to do teams is because then it's easier to manage the points, and you get people who are working collaboratively together, working towards finding out an answer. So once you figure out how that's going to work best for you, you have to present it to your kids. So I always had our instructions in Schoology. So we would review the game rules first. I'd always ask, okay, who's heard of Jeopardy? Who can tell me what the rules are? And they'd tell you how it works, and we'd go over it. And then we'd confirm how it's going to work in our classroom. So in my classroom, you had a team leader for every team. And that team leader was responsible for logging into a website that you see pictured here called buzzin.live. That allows you to buzz in and be able to tell in what order people have buzzed in to provide their answers. The reason I recommend doing something like this is because I learned the hard way. I went into my first class to play Jeopardy, and I'm like, we're just going to have team leaders raise their hand, and whoever I see raise their hand first gets to answer first. And that did not go over well because they all argued, and they said that my eyesight was going and I needed glasses and I couldn't handle it. So we went in with this website instead because it does allow you to see who buzzed in what order. And I could easily say, okay, team 1's up first, followed by team 2. So team 2 knew that if team 1 didn't answer correctly, they would get a chance. That takes us to our next rule. If you buzz in first, you have to provide an answer within 10 seconds. If you do not answer within 10 seconds, it's considered a wrong answer, and it goes to the second team that buzzed in. If you answered correctly, you get the points awarded. If you answered incorrectly, you get points deducted, and it goes to the next team, so on and so forth. So this is where strategy comes into play with our students. So we talk a little bit about what's going to work best. So if you only have 10 seconds to answer, is it best to make sure that your team knows the answer before you buzz in? Or is it best to buzz in first and take the 10 seconds to try to hope you have the answer with someone on your team? So kids go back and forth on what works best. Occasionally there are a few people who are like, no, we have to know the answer before we buzz in. But I'd say about 99% of the time, kids are just like sitting there clicking on it, like buzz, 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 because they want to be first. So then they always get really frustrated and they groan when they don't get it right, or they don't get it in time and it goes to the next team. But it's a lot of fun and it keeps it interesting. So we have the team leader be responsible for giving us the answer. That way they're talking back and forth. And so the team leader is like, okay, here's our answer. So I know that that's the official answer. Then you award points, deduct points, and whoever got it right gets to pick the next category. So that's kind of what this looks like. It looks like a Jeopardy board. You have your categories. You get to name them whatever you want. And the first team, I usually use a number random generator, and we decide which team is going to pick the first category. They get to pick a category, a point value. That's the first question that pops up. So you have a variety of different ways you could word these questions. I've done anything from like you just have to give me the answer to you have to actually think about something. And you have to give me like 3 examples of what, input hardware is, different things like that. So you could utilize this in a number of different ways in different content areas. You also have the ability, if you pay for the lifetime membership, to add in pictures and videos as well. So we are going to real quick show you what that looks like. So if you go to Jeopardy Labs, You'll see that this is their homepage. You can create one, you can find one. Again, double check those answers before you get started. And then when you log in, it'll say, okay, $20 for a lifetime membership. This is what you can get. But once you have your account set up, whether it's free or paid, you can come here to your home. So once you have a game here, we're going to play All About Cincinnati today. You have the ability to do a couple of different things once it's created. You can edit it. You can download it. Never done that before. You can embed it. And this can be put into Schoology. So you could have it appearing in Schoology if you really wanted to, but I don't want my kids having access to it before we play. The thing that I do really like is this print function. I can choose to print out like an answer key and have everything on one page for me so that I don't have to sit there and remember. And now I've just given you guys answers, so hopefully you weren't paying close enough attention. But I like having that printed out for me as a teacher because there's so many different categories and so many questions that I don't want to lose track of where we are. Okay, so we have 4 people here, and we'll do, what if we do teams? So what if we do Adam and Ella together, because I have the 2 of you at the top of my screen. You're going to be team 1. And then Melissa and Allison, you're going to be team 2. So I'm going to switch this to 2 teams. And I'm going to hit reset because earlier I had more than that. So this is what it looks like. You'll see our categories across the top. Today we have history, food, entertainment, and picture this. And if you remember correctly, today's focus is all about Cincinnati. Since I do have the ability to limit or increase the number of questions I have, you'll notice I only have 4 categories, not 5. And I only have up to 300 points, not 500. So if you can't come up with that many questions, you don't have to think of 25 different ones. You can limit it to whatever you need. Very nice. So then that would have put them up to 1,000, and team 1 would be our winners today. I always brought in prizes like little bags of chips or candy or cookies or whatever. And of course, you know, kids love food. So that is Jeopardy Labs in a nutshell. I've really enjoyed it. I would say that out of all of the days my kids came into the classroom, this was probably their top activity that they enjoyed doing. They enjoyed the collaboration. They enjoyed the competition. They got to be loud, a little bit rowdy, and they enjoyed the ability to have a prize at the end. Absolutely.
Well, that's all for today, darlings. Thank you so much for coming to Learn and Grow with the Learning Technologies team as we talked about how to gamify your test prep. In today's workshop, we talked about 3 different ways in which to gamify your test prep: Peardeck's Flashcard Factory, Nearpod's Time to Climb, and Jeopardy Labs. If you would like to go back in this video and review any one of these games, just check for timestamps down in the description box. And if you would like additional coaching on how to incorporate any of these into your learning environment, reach out to any member of our Learning Technologies team. We would love for you to learn and grow with us in person next time, so please stay connected with us by pressing a like or subscribe so that you're notified of our upcoming content. You can also check your email for all Workshop Wednesday offerings, or follow me on Twitter at QueenMail99 as I advertise all of our great offerings. Thanks so much for coming and learning with us, and until we meet again, always keep growing.